I know it's recording because when I logged in, it said it's recording. So welcome everybody to the, we don't have our numbered meetings, but to another meeting of
November 5th.
Thank you, November 5th,
I'll do it.
2025 meeting of the Community Preservation Committee. My name is Tom Callahan. I'm the chair of the committee. And why don't we just go around for introductions, Jen?
Jenny Russell, Vice Chair, Citizen at Large.
Cheryl Tagayas from the planning board.
Marley Dash, representing Parks Commission.
Pete Jackson at large and treasurer.
I'm Wendy Garko from the Conservation Commission.
Robert Powers from the Housing Authority.
And welcome, Robert, to your first official meeting. We're so glad to have you fill that seat, and welcome to the committee. Feel free to ask questions, both in meeting and outside of meetings. And this committee has been a great, and we've had a few different members, but it's been the core has been together since the beginning, and it's been a great collaborative effort. So welcome. So, all right, meeting minutes of October 20th. Those were distributed, I believe, and
Extensive. They were extensive.
they were extensive. Our new system, Jenny, thank you.
I'm not going to do this for right now. Tom.
Right. It isn't, nor should you.
So I'll make a motion to be approved.
Second.
All right, so motion approved. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
We can just do an aye because we're all online here. We're all
I have to
in
abstain.
person, and
Because I
Wendy
was
is
not
abstain. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
All right, so and Rob abstains. All right, committee updates. I'm not sure what this is. Committee
Well, for one
updates.
thing, do you have any update on, Nick was talking about staffing? Staff our committee, has there been anything new?
The only update he's provided is the assistant town planner. I believe we all know the town planner was hired recently and has been on board for the last month or so. An assistant town planner has been hired. I believe I'm not sure, but they have accepted an offer at least, and they haven't started yet, but that position is filled at this point. So that's a good progress report. Doesn't address the administrative support for this committee, but that Nick indicated that they were now turning their attention to position number 3 in the plan. Right, the top position was unfilled. The second position was unfilled in administrative support. So there was, they had to fill all 3. So they were going to kind of go sequentially. And now that those 2 others are filled, they're turning their attention to the administrative support. So that's the only update I have.
You had said that he had discussed us paying a larger percentage of that administrative.
Yeah, I want to get more preciseness before I bring it to the full committee there. I mean, there was some sort of general discussion about, using a larger percentage of our administrative budget to support more hours, in that administrative position. So I think let's have that maybe at the next meeting where we discuss that more formally, because I think it deserves a full committee input. I think there's a tension between how much do we expend of the administrative budget versus how many hours do we need, really? We have been pretty efficient as a committee in the past. However, we're in our 4th year of funding now, and we have more projects out there. There's more follow-up with projects, both projects that are moving forward and projects that are not moving forward, frankly. So it would probably behoove us to have some more administrative hours. But so we need to, so let me get a more formal proposal from Nick on that and bring it to the committee and put it on our agenda for next time. I think that would be appropriate.
So,
Just so you know.
Yes.
We've used well under $10,000 each year for that position, so we should be.
And how many hours does that translate to roughly? Do you know?
I
Okay.
don't know the rate, but
Right.
I just have, running total.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
All right,
hard
that's-
to get 7 columns.
That's helpful.
So
So under 10,000 in each of the 3 years.
yes.
And you said well under, or,
Well, the latest
I mean, how well under?
$7,300.
Okay, was last year.
Well, let's see, fiscal year 23, 3,100, fiscal year 24, 7,200. Actual fiscal year 25, 6,900. And so our budget was kind of 7,300 in this fiscal year.
So, okay, so the first year might have been a partial year, and also we didn't have anything going, we hadn't funded anything yet, so there was less work, so roughly in the 7,000 range the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right. Okay, that's
I just
helpful.
wanted to add
Yeah.
a comment. So I think it'll depend who the staff person is and what they come in at what level, what their pay scale is
Mhm.
going to be. So we should also
Right.
wait to see.
Understand that.
Yeah,
And maybe Nick
Yeah,
can tell
I
us.
think Nick was looking at, sort of the possibility of, so that position previously has been a 22.5 hour, if I have that right, something position. It was over 20 hours, but it was it was definitely a part-time position. And I think they're looking to see if they can make that closer to a full-time position. Obviously, the difference between 22 and 37.5 hours would be 15 hours a week. We don't have that. We probably don't have that budget capacity, but we certainly don't have that demand for that amount of hours.
Plus,
And if there's a demand for more hours, that if he wants to make it full time, that demand is coming from the planning board.
Yes.
It's not from here, so.
right, that's what I
Planning
was
board
gonna
should-
say is that, Julia staffed the planning board
Yes,
previously, and she was doing that until noon each day.
yes,
So 8 to noon, 4 hours a day, so half of her time. So, planning board has budget for that.
yes.
So we'll just.
Well, no, I think he was looking to expand the budget for this position, but we can't be, I mean, we can only do what we can do with our administrative budget, which is to take care of CPA, and we can't,
And we're responsible for taxpayer dollars.
absolutely. So let's get we'll have a fuller discussion of that at the next meeting, and then, but there is progress on staffing generally in the planning department, which has been good. That's good to hear. All right.
What about the historic member?
Yes, so I had a brief conversation with Meredith. I know, did you have a conversation with Stephen at all? No, okay, I thought you did, okay.
No,
Okay.
no, I just suggested.
Okay, I did not.
Oh, I did.
No, it's not your responsibility, it's my responsibility.
That's a
So,
volunteer.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with Meredith, obviously she's not chair, Steve O'Donnell, is chair, so I will, follow up with him after
Okay.
this meeting. Meredith indicated that they are working on it, but,
Okay.
I was asking Pete earlier whether, do you know how many people are on the historic commission?
I only know those two.
Yeah.
And
So-
Linda. So I don't think there's a lot.
Right, I think,
Lillian Saloni's on.
Oh, is she?
Uh-huh.
So it might be 4 or 5.
yeah,
Okay.
There might be
so I
one or
think
two more.
they're drawing straws or something.
Yeah.
The short straw. The short straw.
So, but I will follow up with Steve.
Okay.
All right,
I have another.
Yes, yes.
Well, I was just wondering what the status was of the site visit for the Pine Grove restoration.
thank you for reminding me of that. There has been no, scheduling of that. Rita Cronin is more than willing to take us there, so it's really, should we try to schedule that now? Would people like to see it, even though we're
No.
likely making a decision tonight,
Yeah.
we'd still like to see it. Yeah, so, Marita indicated to me that her schedule is pretty flexible, so why don't we come up with a time, since we're talking about the quorum, maybe this, Robbie, is a, site walk of, one of the applicants, has applied for money historic preservation money to restore gardens at the Winter Valley project. So Maria Cronin has offered to take us on a site walk to talk about some of the history of that site and some of the plans. And I think there was interest in the committee. So I was looking at Friday or Saturdays.
That would be.
The 15th is not good for me, which is next Saturday, but the 14th would be okay.
Not good for me.
22nd, we're getting close to November, but I'm the
21st is okay.
21st and 22nd are both okay for me.
Me too.
I'll be out of town, but,
Both of those.
well, maybe not the 20th. I might be back by the 22nd.
How does the 22nd look for folks? Sure. Not be, it's not a big area, it'd be a relatively short.
Yeah.
short,
I think that should work. Would be in the morning?
I think it would make sense to do in the morning, yeah.
So 10-ish kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sounds
I
good.
think, just thinking the crack of dawn, but
6 a.m.
It's just a little fall Wednesdays.
yes, I was just kidding, I was just kidding.
10 a.m.
Bad humor. All right, so why don't we propose to Marita on the 22nd at 10 a.m. And then,
We'll be in touch with her about that.
yes, and also with Nick to post it, because I would have to be posted. And first Marita, obviously, to see if that works. Okay, good. All right, anything else?
I have actually two things before we get into it. I've got an update from accounting on the budget that we have available. And it's gone up a little bit because they've got an actual number from the state on what our match will be, and it's almost 6,000 more than, we had budgeted. And the town's income from the CPA money is a little higher. So it looks like we have $1,119,293 available to give out in awards.
Okay, you're gonna have to say that. again.
1
Yeah,
million.
wait, hold on a second.
1,119,293. And then we had one, so that's like 70,000 more than the
So you should be able to
Does
do
that
that.
take out all of that?
It takes up to-
Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm doing it first on the screen here. So does that not take into account administrative?
No, they already took out.
That-
50,000.
That is, okay, I'm sorry, I missed that, yeah, okay.
So I would, when you take 50,000 out for administrative.
Well, we can do 5%.
5%.
So that roughly is 50,000, it's a little more than 50,000.
It's a little more now, but.
Yeah, so it's 5% of the total budget, is the state allows.
That's the maximum amount, I
But
think.
we don't have to do that, right?
Correct.
And this works out.
And we've spent well less than 5%. The only two major expenses have been the staff expenses and the membership of the Community Preservation Coalition, which is 4,000, 5,000.
Well,
$3,500.
30.
So we're like at 12, so we spend like 12,000 or.
Yeah,
Yeah.
under 12,000. And
But
actually that 50,000 is 4.28% instead of 5%.
Okay,
Anybody wants to make.
that's
yeah, but that's
the
still
good news is we have.
We have a little more than we expected.
good.
Now, the other thing at the last meeting, there was talk about catching up on the status of existing ones, and I have tried to follow through on all those.
So that's on the agenda as a specific item. So why don't we just deal with that in order? I think that's after we discuss.
That's fine.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so let's move, if there's not anything else, let's move to the CPC funding applications for this year. And discussion of each of them. Would it be helpful to put up the spreadsheet now? Let me just, because the spreadsheet can help guide, the order we go into. So let me just share the screen here if I can do that. Okay. All right, so. It looks really big on my screen, not so big.
There you go.
Get that number. In the picture.
You can probably delete the participants, that block on the right hand side. Yeah, there you go.
Well, now you just have to maximize your Zoom on your computer. It'll be good. Just maximize your. Or you can't, or you can go, you can probably do it right on the screen, right up there.
Just look
Up here? No, go to, see where the
Next
X
to the
is, next to the X, to the left of the X.
Upper, yeah.
Left, right there, that one, hit that. There you go.
So you learned something already tonight, didn't you?
There you go. I've always learned something.
Yeah, always learn.
Always. Okay, so let's we can go in this order, we can go in any order we would like, but let's take them in this order,
Yeah.
just for ease. Bicycle wayfinding, again, it's been radio silent. I did reach out after our last meeting to his 3 different emails, and we have not had this is the guy from Randolph who is the proponent of this. So it is, I think, a project that has some merits, but we have not had any communication from the proponent, which is not, I don't think that necessarily means we shouldn't or couldn't fund it, but it does worry me that the proponent has been so out of touch after filing the application that it gives me pause about the ability for a funded project to be followed through on, basically is my concern. But
So this is the guy from
Randolph,
from Randolph.
yeah,
He came to the Conservation Commission
about
And
this project.
about this project
Yeah.
and presented, and
I mean, he did come here eventually, right?
yeah.
No, not to
I
that.
don't know, yeah.
Didn't he pop in on Zoom or something? No? Okay, all right, I'm dreaming.
Like repeated
So,
invitations.
right,
But in my mind, if
That's-
it's not important enough to him to make an effort to reach out to us, I just don't think we should fund it.
yeah.
Did you check and see whether he had been trying to reach Julia, who is not reachable, and whether that is any part of the problem?
Well, that's why I reached out through my Gmail account and just, he has given us 3 different email addresses to contact him. And there was one issue back when Julia was here that I can't remember if her emails were getting rejected by one of his email accounts but there was some sort of miscommunication. So that's why we accepted it as from the eligibility stage and moved it to the full application stage. And we did get a full application from him after. So there was some reconnection of that communication. He acknowledged that he did want to file a full application. We got a full application. But then again, radio silence after the full application when we attempted to set up an opportunity for him to come. So in my last attempt was to invite him for tonight. Because even though we did those visits with the other applicants in the other meetings, there's no reason why we couldn't have, seen him tonight, but.
Was your communication with him, just an invitation and open? It wasn't, if we don't hear from you, we're not gonna be able
I'd have to look at exactly how he phrased it.
Yeah.
I think it was a little more direct than just, hey, but I'd have to see.
Because that would be, I think, more, if there's consequences, that if he realizes there are consequences of not responding, it seems sort of a fair game to me than just not considering it just because he hasn't showed up.
Yeah.
I also saw that, did you take a vote to support it at the Conservation Commission? That's what I
We
saw,
did.
6-1.
Yeah,
So that information is since September 9th. So how did we get that information? Do we know whether he's reached out to Nick? Like I email, Nick is a busy person who's had to fill in. Sometimes I've had to email, reminder him something, because he missed something. All I'm saying is that something could have fallen through there as well. I'm just curious because he didn't like completely ignore. He went to, the Concom in September and then that is in this application folder here. So I'm just wondering if there's some breakdown somewhere, that's all.
that's what I'm curious about too, because at the Concom meeting in September, I communicated to him that we would be reaching out for him to come in and present his proposal, and he was all thumbs up about it.
Because I mean, this is the Randolph example is in the application and when they opened the new extension of the bike path all the way to the Morrissey Boulevard, and now there's a presentation on what their plans are for widening the sidewalk on Morrissey. There's a map on that extension, which is actually quite handy if you want to see, where you can go on these paths and what connects and what doesn't connect. It's not well marked, honestly, throughout the length of it.
Right.
And whether we rely on DCR to do it, I guess they're not relying on DCR in this request, right? So anyway, what was the conversation at Concom to lead to the vote to support?
Well, he basically presented a synopsis of the project. There was a little bit of dialogue back and forth. There was a lot of support. I can't remember what the issues were for the one who voted in opposition. I'd have to look back at the notes, but from what I gathered, he's a volunteer trying to pull this together and doing the best that he can. And from my interpretation, it seemed like he had intentions of taking things to the next step here with us over the last month or so.
Mhm.
So, I with the turnover at town hall, I am, and the previous difficulties we had with email,
Right.
I
mean, we do have some luxury of time. Here, we don't have to finalize things until, say January or so. So I think we can, and that is obviously significant information that he went to the Milton Concom and got that support. So
yeah.
why don't we make one more before we make a final decision, one more effort to
I'd like to make one other concern that I have.
Yes.
3 of the 5 locations mostly are on DCR land. They have their own signage standards. Installed quite a bit of signage along the greenway, things like that. They're more subtle.
Right.
They went through a whole community process on the design of the signage, and they did that. So I don't think he has the right just to go and start putting signage on DCR property. And if, it was okay with them, then his proposal should have included a letter of support or something from DCR.
Right.
And we allow this to happen. The other 2 sites are on Milton Concom, but one of those is a site until recently nobody even knew was Concom. Everybody thought it was DCR because it's right along the greenway, which is, covered by that same signage that they already have.
Mhm.
So the only really new thing as a Concom site is where Pine Tree Road crosses the parkway. And, that would be up to the Concom whether they wanted to support a sign there or whatever. But, to me, it's DCR property. I don't think we should tell DCR, you know, to impose a whole new graphic signage system onto a system that they've already got in place.
Or then, like you're saying, we should have a letter, he should have a letter from DCR, it's like, I'm supporting it, or.
Right, and we're having these signs conform to their design standard, yeah.
My recollection, and I don't want to speak on his behalf without having, more details in front of me, my notes, but I do recall that we had a conversation touching on these points that you bring up, Pete. And that, it seemed that things were more fluid and he was in discussion with DCR and he was making adjustments to the graphics and design to be more congruent with their design standards. And it was my impression that with the final application that he might have made some changes, but I'm not sure where.
I mean,
I don't wanna speak
my
on
own feeling is like, we're relying on, like, he hasn't come before this board.
Right.
So I wouldn't feel comfortable funding this tonight regardless. I'm not saying that I would say no to it, but
Right.
to Tom's point, if it's like, if you allow, if we want to, it's up to the committee to say, okay, you can come back to us. That just means we're gonna have to let him come back at a future meeting.
Mhm, mhm.
Right, I agree with you, Rob, I wouldn't feel comfortable. I don't have anything, objections to
I don't have
the
any
project,
objections to it,
but I think
like Mappin, it's great, but.
and I think there's a couple issues, you know, there's the issues that Pete's raising, there's, I'm not saying this is, a non-starter, but it's, we have certainly funded organizations that are not based in Milton. I believe, you know, the trustees, or, you know, was it trustees? Not trustees, the,
Start New England.
Eustis, historic New England, Eustis House and so. But this is from an individual that's not a Milton resident. So I don't know about both the optics of that, and you know, all the other questions that relate to when Milton individuals apply, right? What's the nonprofit that the money's going to, or where is the money going to, and all of those. So those are all important to me, questions to be, to have some certainty about. Again, not a non-starter in my mind, but we certainly need to clarify all of that.
Right.
And also, I mean, it's bike related, it's in Milton, he certainly should touch base with the Milton Bike, you know, committee. And, you know, they would have been a better one to bring forward this proposal, so it's just.
Yeah, there's lots of questions that, at a minimum merit, some discussion, you know, some face-to-face discussion.
I just want to say that I'm not as concerned about who the applicant is if it benefits Milton residents. The idea is that we're benefiting the entirety of the town, not just individuals who come before us. And so the fact that this applicant is looking at something coming from one town to another, passes through Milton, it would benefit the users outside of Milton, but it benefits users in Milton. And so
Absolutely.
I don't think the lens of who the applicant is as should be a determinant of whether they get funded or not, as long as it benefits Milton residents.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. And indeed, that's why I said Historic New England is not a Milton-based organization. So we do have precedent for that, but I also know there's always questions that even when individuals apply as opposed to organizations, that's always, and I believe he was applying as an individual.
Well, it says the group or committee affiliations, town council and proper, and would that be Randolph or Canton, which one would it be?
Randolph.
Randolph Town Council. So that's who the check would be written to, I guess.
Yeah, so again, it's a conversation,
So are we?
I think I would propose that
we're also setting a precedent to say, okay, we're gonna make a special meeting for one applicant.
Well, we're gonna have to meet again anyways as we get, because of,
In
yeah,
September.
We have one more scheduled, don't we?
We do not, no, we have to schedule, we have to schedule it tonight, but at least I'm gonna propose that we meet
Okay,
one more time to talk about the bonding and the town wharf project, because I think that's sort of, we can get into it a little bit tonight, but, obviously it's on our agenda.
At the time.
But I think it merits a fuller discussion, its own meeting perhaps, so we could potentially combine it with that.
So maybe if you're specific enough, we invite you to come at 7:30,
Yeah.
such and such a date to our meeting. To have 15 minutes to present your proposal.
I mean, the other thing is we're talking about $9,500 for a long time, so it's like, it's
Yeah,
not.
well, it shouldn't matter. I mean, the amount shouldn't matter.
No, I get it.
So ask and ask.
And I think we just, as we said, that we should be clear before Park not submitting an eligibility application, that we should be clear about whether it's mandatory that they come for a presentation. And our expectation, and I don't know, maybe it says that somewhere, and I haven't seen the emails that went out to them, so I just think it's as much as we can set expectations, and then if like when we were considering taking an application after the deadline, we really should be clear.
Yes.
Deadline's a deadline.
Right.
I think we all agree that we need to, with preciseness and clarity, in transparency in this next round, just spell out the rules, no exceptions, we have some decisions to make as a committee of like which rules we want to adopt. And which are hard and fast, and which we might not
be
want to.
this year's been tough because we don't have the admin.
The staffing.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, but even with staffing, I think Cheryl is correct in that we have to be clear, about the eligibility. Is it lifetime eligibility for our project?
Right.
Is it every year eligibility? You're raising issues about, do we require an in-person or else the Zoom interview or conversation at one stage, at neither stage, at one stage, at both stages? We've had a history of seeing most applicants twice. So I know we all have a variety of opinions on some of those questions, but I think, so I hope after we get through our recommendations for this year, and before we put out one piece of paper or one website update about our process for next year, we can, and we need to come to some committee decisions about how that's going to run.
Can I just ask a general funding question?
Yeah.
When somebody's approved, how are they given the money? Is it based on, are we paying the bills for them? Is there a reimbursement, or we just cut them a check?
Yeah, Pete, do you want to?
Well, we've done both really.
Yeah.
The money becomes, after we do something, it goes to town meeting, and the town meetings that are approved it. And at that point, the town meeting is in May and the money becomes available July 1st. There are some that we have given them the full amount, and then, they handle that, and some submit invoices and, require backup to support the invoices and things like that. So it hasn't been 100% consistent.
One of the members, the one member who's not here today, Kathleen O'Donnell, is an attorney who has actually represented CPCs and towns during her career with CPA towns. So she has a lot of experience with this. She has drawn up grant agreements with the funded groups. The non-departmental, right? Some are, funding the Parks Department to upgrade, one of the fields or what have you. So those are different, but the grant agreements we enter into kind of speak to the process for getting reimbursed or upfront payment or that type of stuff. So
say a third party's doing the work. Are they covered by 30B regulations and and that, or is it only if the town?
I think it's
Doing the project?
case by case basis, and it's usually when the town is doing the project.
It's usually where it's on.
Yeah, yeah. So just because we're funding a private project doesn't trigger the public bidding requirements. Yeah, yeah. Good questions. All right.
So just another just final comment about this bicycle wayfaring thing. It seems like your communication with them, I would suggest that be very clear about
I'm going to drive to his house.
that we have a number,
Knock on his door.
we have a number of questions, you know,
Yes.
without which we can't move forward with a decision.
Right.
Okay. Yeah,
And
no,
I just suggest reach out to Nick and see if for some reason that if anything came into Julia's mailbox that, you know,
that's a good point.
in
That's a
the
good point.
Netherlands.
Yeah, because I don't have access to the CPC, the generic CPC.
It gets cut off, like, let's just say when somebody's no longer in office,
Yeah.
that email address gets cut off and Julia's gets cut off. So
Yeah.
like,
Okay,
he may have emailed something and it was very abrupt timing. And he may not have heard back. So I just think it's a courtesy given
Yep.
the situation.
all right, so we will defer this one, Brook Walk. Which is, the Jeff Stone, proposed projects to, continue progress and take the first steps towards, creating a brook walk from the Ponset River to Milton Rink, roughly. This would, as we heard last time, sort of try to address the Herrick Drive, sort of section between Turner's Pond and School Street. I think roughly is what yeah, yeah.
So this is now in conservation,
It's conservation, right?
right? So did the Concom have a presentation on this one?
Trying to remember, not recently. Not for this particular application that I was in attendance for.
Did he present the broader plan, when he did the broader plan?
Correct.
And not in this one?
The last round, yes.
This was generally part of that. Were there any concerns about any of the locations for the, do you recall?
I do remember there was a lot of discussion about wanting it to remain a fluid conversation so that we could provide input. Certainly if there was any work to be done within
Jurisdiction.
within our jurisdiction. Right. Right. But off the top of my head, I can't think of any major concerns.
Because it was proposed as a boardwalk, right? So that's the thing. It shows.
Part of it.
No, they're kind of thing.
Most of it.
The entire thing,
Yeah,
from School Street to Glover?
yeah.
Yeah, 1,700 feet to one of them. And it costed multi-millions of dollars. That
Cost.
my concern. My concern is, this is another study, you know, how last year you were taking the wood, not taking the woodshed, but several people expressed concerns that we're doing studies and not doing work.
Right.
And I personally don't see any way that the town's ever gonna fund this. Yeah, you know, a couple $1 million for a boardwalk. Now, they might be able to get some state grants or something. But it just seems that it's still in good money. That's why at the feasibility stage, we very strongly recommended that he consider partnering with the Concom and, you know, to do something at Post Pond, because that could be a project that could be built and add to the open space system.
Yeah.
Where this is kind of a pie in the sky thing, which is unlikely to ever be funded. So I just think it's, you know, not a good project to fund. I appreciate his efforts on, you know, the whole thing. But even this, Herrick Drive is very wide, very low traffic. And you could get out to Herrick Drive and then, you know, as pedestrian walk along Herrick Drive, and instead of doing 1,700 feet of boardwalk, do a pathway, maybe there's a little boardwalk that's 200 feet long, and then go on the roadway and walk. So I just don't think it's a.
So in defense of the project, though, wouldn't the study sort of illuminate issues like that, right? That yes, the current proposal is for a boardwalk that entire length, but there may, the study presumably is looking at funding realities of like, if you want to create this walk or this path, this natural area, you know, something is better than nothing. And if the price tag for the 17.
The applicant also, I remember at the presentation that they talked about specifically grant funding opportunities for it.
Yep.
This
So-
would allow them, they have to get this far, what was it?
To even
apply.
Yes.
They can't apply for grants
Yeah.
without some.
Yeah. So I'm not
Can't apply for
taking,
grants till we have our open space plan done.
Well, that's
And
true.
that could be 10 years from now, but it's fine.
so they need both us, action by us, and the open space plan
Yeah.
be done, yeah. I mean, to me, I look at the ultimate vision as not that, I mean, not that it's not relevant, certainly it's very relevant, but it's not necessarily what we're buying into or funding. I think there's a lot of, you know, like a lot of these projects, there's a lot of questions, right? There's the discussion we had with Jeff and the consultant about the discussion they've had or not had so far with Herrick Drive neighbors, for instance. So you know, this is a long way from being close to fruition, you know, being, you know, long way from fruition. But it's a question of really, do we think there's enough merit in the project to take the next step with it? Pete's
I
sort
don't
of
think so.
warnings,
Personally, but-
warnings of, funding studies that, you know, and I think there's a number of questions about this. I'm enamored of the overall vision for this
Yeah.
project. And inevitably, it's going to be costly. It's going to be, you know, a 20-year build out. To build this, you know, these things don't happen overnight. There's going to be some ruffled feathers. There's going to be people that are opposed to it. So, you know, to me, I don't want to be pulling the plug this early. I think it's, this project still has merit.
This project was
so-
discussed back in master plan process in 2013-ish.
Oh, yeah, the whole idea.
The whole idea,
He's been advocating
he's,
Yeah.
20.
Yeah.
Right, right.
but I mean, I would say, I disagree about like the feasibility studies and doing the planning work, because you have to do that before you get to a shovel-ready project. And without it, you can see like the lockup building, when they don't have the analysis first and then documentation, and before you go to bid, you just, I don't know, they have windows on order. We don't have any, I don't know if the historic commission knows what the windows are gonna look like, but that's usually a really important thing when you're looking at renovation, historic preservation.
Right.
So I do think doing the due diligence, which is the next step, is the next important step. You go from concept to due diligence, which some of which was done here, but now you go to the next level of due diligence. And one that can be kind of like a pilot to get people excited about it, see the potential. You know, having it at this end, because you already have something happening at Pokes Pond at the other end, that you can kind of see them as kind of being bookends.
Yep.
I think would give, I understand your concerns, Pete, but I do think it's worth the next step.
To me, if we specify that the next step looks at alternatives to make that connection, you know, from Glover School to School Street, as opposed to designing a boardwalk, which is what this presents, that they're gonna be designing a boardwalk.
Well, he does have an alternative. There is an alternative.
I didn't see it on time.
Yeah, if you look at, there's an option one and option two. This is, I don't know what page it was, tell me what page it was.
Should we answer this, the report,
The comfort.
It's
the original.
it's this one,
the original report?
Yeah.
yeah, the feasibility study. So they have one again, we're on Herrick, but then they have one that goes, the option two is down School Street, Central Ave to School Street. Not,
So it goes up.
I'm gonna say closer to
So you say, okay. So that Turner's Pond. It doesn't have an option one, option two. Here's the boardwalk section they're talking about.
Right.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
When is there a
So
reason that this can't be
Street.
like the hard pack, like around Turner's Pond is? That it has to be a
I
board,
don't figure out where this is.
Was that-
Well,
Here's the street.
said conservation.
And this is.
That was,
That's
no,
right
we
along
have
the
not
pond,
seen this
right
level.
along there.
yeah, this is, this would be the Herrick Drive option, right?
No. No.
Oh, I know, so this is the one before it,
Oh, this is coming from the Neponset River down to
Right.
School Street.
right, down to.
But here's the new section, the one he's working.
You're right, so that was segment one, okay, so segment two, oh, yeah, right, you're right, sorry.
Yeah. So,
We're just talking about segment two, right?
So,
So the alternative would be to go down Herrick.
would be.
so if they would explore alternatives, if the idea is to make a connection from Glover Schools to School Street, to look at alternatives to do that, I think would be great, as opposed to just moving ahead with the design.
Right.
Board.
Yeah,
Well,
but
we
it's
can- we
only,
can
it's
say
only
that.
10% design. It's a concept and then enough so that they can do an order of magnitude cost estimate.
Yeah,
But why not look at alternatives?
no, I think, but, I mean, you guys are the experts in this, I'm maybe naive, but I react the same way Cheryl does, like, if it's 10% design, they're absolutely gonna look at alternatives, right? I mean.
Well,
10%.
I mean, if you're gonna have a path for just walking on the street, that's not really a brook walk because you're not next to the brook.
Right, yeah,
So
No,
to
there's-
me, that becomes an option when you find that you're not gonna get funding for something else. But to have that be your starting point, your base point, it seems like you've given up already. And
I
I
agree,
just.
I agree. Yeah, I think this is worth our investment. I think we embraced the overall vision last time. Obviously we can change our minds, but I think this is the first concrete project. It needs our support to take the next step and to explore what is possible there.
I mean, I agree with Cheryl, and as you know, I've asked applicants to plan, because I see both sides, because to Pete's point, I don't know, this boardwalk's gonna cost a ton of money. So where's that money gonna come from? Who knows, but it's also not in our, let's see how the study goes, or not just shut them down. I don't think for 40K, let's see how it goes, and maybe there's an alternative, it's on the applicant to.
I mean,
To
we
show
can,
the
we can,
committee.
we can encourage that. I think there's no harm in
Yeah.
encouraging and letting them know that the committee wants them to explore, alternatives.
But I think
We want to focus,
Yeah.
to me, I want to focus on buildability, or that's not,
Right.
but just
And that's what
something
this
that can
is intended to do.
get to, I agree with Cheryl. I don't want the sidewalk. Obviously, we can't fund sidewalks. That's not what we're doing. We're looking to get people out in nature, but it's, but we all want something to get built and used by town residents.
And maybe there is great opportunities, but they need to get there with that.
Yeah.
This is the first step.
Right.
Yeah, and I would say that we should suggest that they meet with Concom during their process.
Okay. Do we want to vote? So how do we want to do this? Do we want to vote on each individual project as we go along? Yeah, okay. So.
Are we voting the
do I-
funding
So
amount or just
did
the board?
we're deferring the first one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, So I don't think you need a vote, we just know that we're gonna defer that.
Yeah.
And Brook Walk, do I hear a motion?
So, excuse me, Tom, are we voting the funding request amount as well, or just the project?
No, the request is,
Okay.
I mean, so we should have a discussion about full funding or partial funding as the case may be in all of these projects, but.
Because we have a total of 1,384,000 and
But remember
available of
that, but that includes
1,119,000.
that includes the work part. So if you look at the bottom, it's
got it, okay.
So
183.
we have enough funds.
We have enough funds to cover everybody except.
We're
We're
swimming.
set, we're set.
We're
Okay,
swimming.
okay, that's.
I'm kidding.
I'll make a motion to approve the Brook Walk,
40,000.
make a recommendation for
Second.
So that I have a motion to approve $40,000 for the Brook Walk, and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so that passes unanimously. Geofield.
So can I just
Yeah.
ask, on the spreadsheet here, I was looking at the documents, was 70,000 the original? There doesn't show an original application up here, but there
For
was.
GL, I think we might have done 80.
There was a 70,
You know what it was?
I was looking at it here,
I don't,
70 out of a total cost of 80. So
Oh, there we go.
yeah, I just think it's good for.
70?
For record
The
keeping.
original?
Yeah,
Back to the room.
yes. Just to see how things shift.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Rob sent, Rob did.
I think it's updated, 100,843 is the new request, yep, yep.
I think, then going ahead and getting a cost, talking with a real contractor with good experience and things like that is a good thing to do. And I'd be prepared to support the entire amount, 100,843.
And just ask you to explain a little bit, Rob, you talked last time about the improving the access. So what does this additional scope actually getting you now?
Gets us that staircase.
Okay.
It gets us the staircase added. So that's where that comes from.
So it's an additional access point to
It's an
the,
additional access
Okay,
point
so
to the
we can
fields.
do-
But it's a staircase.
It's a
At the
staircase
bottom,
that-
Up steps at the bottom that take you from the walkway that's
It's
there.
kind of in the middle of the ramp. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it's kind of in the
I just need a
middle.
letter today.
but the
Yeah.
alternative
Yeah, I
access
just wanted
to
I just remember your presentation had the
Change.
plans, but they're not, there's no plans in the folder, so I was just trying to understand. Because
Have the,
you were talking about,
that's how the project changed, because when we went over there, it was mainly because of the access, and that's why the additional funding. So. And then the last time we met with the committee, you guys asked, and we went to Fulsham, and they are working on at Kelly Field, and Ken worked with them very. He likes them, and so, they put that work up together, and that's the reason.
so the staircase is eligible? Just for my edification.
It's a part of the project.
yeah,
Running it.
I think it would be, I think it's a capital improvement to that field, it has. I mean, as a former softball parent, it has, that area that Rob's talking about has a access issue. So I think, I don't see why this wouldn't be eligible as part of the overall project.
Because it's just, you said sidewalks weren't eligible, so I guess I just wanted clarification, but I mean, I'm not opposed to it.
Yes, this is not, sidewalks like along a public street are not considered
Right.
open space, basically. This is capital,
But this
so
is-
this is a different project, right? A different category. It's a open space and recreation. It's in the recreation category and it's capital. I think it's fairly clearly a capital improvement to the softball field
Yeah.
there.
Another thing, just to I know in my last presentation. When Kevin and I met on the field with the dangerous slope that everyone goes down, we're also gonna close that off. Well, we're gonna use park funding to close that off. So this new access point will also be a much safer access point for folks to go down. And so we discussed
So the
that.
dirt kind of path that you're gonna close off, okay.
We're gonna just move over the railing, because it's just wide open right now.
Yeah.
And you know, the room goes down.
Yeah.
To my wife said, why are you really gonna do that? To say don't fall, I said. But then people will then have to go down that way, and they'll go down to they'll go down the stairs. It'll be a much safer path.
Okay, so. Pete,
So I can
you were
make
making a motion, Mhm. And do I hear a second?
Sure.
So motion in a second, any discussion, any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Unanimous.
Tom?
Yes.
Before we move on, can we
Yeah.
circle back for 30 seconds to the Brookwalk project?
Sure.
I'm wondering if in the process of the feasibility study, if it is determined that segment 2 is not, it's not worth exploring in greater detail. Would it be possible that the applicant could pivot and focus on a different segment? Could we consider putting that language in the warrant that we bring to town meeting to allow that kind of flexibility?
You're not gonna put any, like, language doesn't really go in the warrant, it's just like a funding.
It's for the, yeah.
Probably in the grant
it's-
agreement.
It's
It
more
would be the grant agreement, I think
They go partway in their study and they determine it's not feasible.
Yeah, like, well, what if they realize like, hey, maybe we should not be focusing all on segment 2. Maybe based on whatever we find that we want to focus, say, on the other end, rather than looking at the bookends like we were talking about, maybe they want to instead do a feasibility for a different segment. So like, I would be concerned to sort of pigeonhole them in focusing this feasibility study on just that segment, if in the process they realize, hey,
If they determine it's not feasible, then they stop their study and money comes back to us and they can apply next year for a new thing. I think it'd be awfully hard to fund 2 potential projects in one item.
I mean, somebody mentioned the grant agreement, I think it does come down to, how the grant agreement is, how specific or, flexible the
Yeah.
grant agreement is written, because we're, does it limit itself to, is it called section 2 or?
Yeah.
Segment.
Segment 2
Yeah.
of the Brookrock project, and
Mhm.
only that, which is, if it was, and then they pulled the plug voluntarily halfway through and had expended 20,000, then I think Pete's right, they have to, give back the rest and or not expend the rest and come back to us for a future project. Or I don't typically, and if I wish Kathleen were here, I don't typically know that our grant agreements are that hyper specific.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess it's a reasonable question of, should they be or should they not be? I'm more of the mind to give, within reason, to give some general flexibility to our grant applicants so that they can pivot a little bit in midstream. I think it would be in the spirit of our funding for them to say, oh, for whatever reason, we determined early that segment 2 was not immediately feasible, and so we want to do segment 3. We want to pursue segment 3, and we want to repurpose your money for segment 3 of the Brookwalk project. It wouldn't be reasonable to spend it on another project, obviously, or something that was not in the proposal. But I don't know how Kathleen handles that in the grant agreements, frankly, to know, to give you a precise answer in that question. But
It might make sense, since they haven't talked specifically about this project at the time, is maybe they should sooner rather than later go to the Concom, because if the Concom goes to this idea that they're gonna build this thing that has to take down 50 trees and build a boardwalk, you know, right adjacent to the pond, and the Concom says, you know, they might, who knows? And if they did.
Well, I think it goes
better
to,
know sooner than rather.
it goes to Wendy's point, I think
Right.
of, we've got a long time between our recommendation here on November 5th and Kathleen on July 1, preparing a grant agreement, or, you know, so a lot can happen between now and then that will inform the grant agreement.
Yeah.
But if they met, you know, soon with the Concom, before we even put the article together. And then if the Concom says there's no way we're gonna allow that, you know, take a sidewalk or whatever and say,
Yeah.
you know, it's gonna be very hard for us to support this, and then, you know, as shown. Then, you know, maybe we could, you know, do it such that it was for the Brookrock project, but maybe something different, I don't know.
Well, they have their scope, broken down into tasks, and
Right,
they could, the first one is doing the base map and the
Right.
field reconnaissance. So they would probably get an idea, how complicated it would be from doing some of that. And then the next is kind of a concept design. So it seems to me somewhere along in that, and then those two areas, they should come to Concom. And before they move on to task 3, which is the 10%, which is what's required for mass trails.
Right,
So that task 2 says that they would identify constraints, challenges, and needs. So that, you know, would be a good time to review. And then that they would have some typical cross sections and path alignments, possible boardwalk types. So it seems like that's, as well as low impact boardwalk footing type examples. So that seems like a good time to come before they move forward with their task 3. And then 4 is the development of the magnitude of cost estimates.
well,
So-
the field reconnaissance after task 1 kickoff meeting, HB and town staff if desired, and I could include Concom, we went outside too, and we don't look at the data and things like that. Like, I just think the earlier the better. If there's any red flags that are gonna come up, the earlier the better. But, you know, if VHB can present, you know, the examples of what they've done, you know, just sort of Concom, here's the kind of low impact we could do that we think would be suitable for this site. Might be a good start. So,
it seems to me that, speaking as one person on the Concom, that what I would consider a priority segment is different than what the applicant is considering a priority. And I know that we're looking at this through different lenses. But my concern is that when there is that deeper collaboration with the Concom, that other members in the Concom might be more aligned with my thinking in that, hey, why are we looking at Herrick Drive when there's other segments that we think might be more feasible or a higher priority? And if that's the case, it would be nice if the applicant could then shift.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I would be a proponent of having a grant agreement that says something about to study a initial segment or segments. Not segment 2, not segment 7, not segment 4,
But a
a
segment,
segment,
Is said.
because that's what we're funding. Pete has heard me go off a little bit on this recently. I'm a big believer in CPCs should not be making the pie.
Exactly.
We should be funding the various pies. There's, you know, some of that comes from Stuart Saganor, the executive director of the Community Preservation Coalition, and some of it comes from my own bias too, but I think we should let the million flowers bloom and let them take it. Now, we should encourage collaboration with the Concom.
Yeah.
But I don't think we should be, necessarily saying,
You need to do.
project segment 7 versus segment 2. If the project applicant has determined segment 2, at least at this point, is what they want to pursue.
Yeah.
Now we have the right to say, no, we're not going to fund that. We're
Right.
not going to fund that, but I think that's our power as opposed to trying to
Shape their project.
shape their project too much. And we're not supposed to be shapers, we're supposed to be funders.
One thing I would just remind folks is that some of the other segments are private property, and so there's more complicated and more time to see whether those can come to fruition, where this
I thought they had a good,
this is Concom and it's
Yeah.
town, and therefore the path could be sort of clearer and quicker than some of the others.
yeah, I thought
That's
they had a
my
good
recollection.
rationale when we asked them that question.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah.
and- Yeah, and we still may agree or disagree with them, but anyways, all right, so Wendy, I know you said to go back. Are you proposing we change anything? Are you comfortable with where this conversation is going?
I don't think we need to change or revote or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
If I'm hearing everyone correctly in that the specificity is going to come down to our grant agreement and
Yeah.
not,
I would not, there's no way in the past we've been so specific as to fund a segment, to name a segment in the warrant,
okay,
right? That would be
Good
wildly,
projects have been specific. I mean, if we go to town meeting,
this is a specific project.
right, if we go to town meeting and present a project that's gonna do a design study for a segment along that section, we can't come up with a grant agreement that has them spend the money over in another part of town.
No, but the project is pretty contained. We funded the
Right, right.
project initial,
Right.
the initial exploration. So it's exploring options between the Ponce River and,
Well, that's what the study was, but this project is to do a design for this segment. That's what that project is. So we can't go to town meeting, as was suggested here, that they get money to design this project and then decide on our own that we're gonna let them.
So Herrick Drive is gonna be mentioned in the warrant?
Herrick Drive, yeah, the path along, the boardwalk along, the
No.
pond adjacent to Herrick Drive.
See, I don't agree with that, and I don't
How can you
see,
not? They presented a plan that showed what they're gonna study. And they've got a design proposal from a consultant to do that piece of work.
within reason, I'm for giving applicants the maximum flexibility we can, as long as they stay within the parameters and the spirit of our funding.
So
And I think-
it's gotta
I
be a
think
different
Wendy is-
project opposed to that we approved to go to the warrant. It's not to do a design study for segment 2.
I don't think our history,
We don't have.
I don't think our history, I don't
Isn't that
think-
what they say?
that's,
Concept design for segment 2. That's what we're approving. Concept design for segment 2.
that's the
That's the
title of their
title
application.
Mhm.
That's right.
Yeah, I'd have to look back at all the warrant articles. I don't think we got that specific. So if
Every project's been that specific. Everyone.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
I mean, without having them in front of me, but
And not the affordable housing ones, because that's just a.
well, yeah, I mean, certain applicants are more general like that,
Yeah.
but I'm just even thinking of like Spalding Garden. If they wanted to do, I'm just making this up, but the left wall instead of the center wall, that would have been okay.
But they came in with a proposal to do.
But the warrant didn't say do the left wall.
Yeah, no, okay.
That's what this is. The left wall.
segment two. That's what it says.
I know it says that, and
So it's in.
But at the same time, we just
It would
voted.
have to be different.
We just voted if it's segment two, it's segment two, right? But I think to the same point, they need to go to the Concom before that we would like feel comfortable, right?
so Wendy is raising, I think, a scenario that's not unreasonable or outrageous, right? That they go to the Concom and in collaboration with the Concom, they change their mind or something.
Right.
What I want to do is not force them to wait another 18 months
Agreed.
and put them through bureaucracy and hoops and just delay, and give them some flexibility to pivot.
Yeah.
That's the spirit of what
So
I'm.
if they do
I don't know how to word.
We put our warrant article together and they come back in consultation with the Concom. We decide this isn't the best approach for this project. We'd like to use the same money and do it for this. Then our warrant identifies segment 6 or whatever it is.
Or
But this specifically says segment 2, and segment 2 is designed, it is in their study, it's in their proposal. So it's not gonna be, we can't go to the town meeting and have approved funding for segment 2 and then go spend it on segment 6, I don't think.
Well, I mean, we may be talking about a somewhat unique project because obviously some of the other projects don't lend themselves to that, but my recollection, and it's only recollection at this point, is that that us putting, in this instance, segment 2 into the warrant article would be something, a level of detail that we haven't done in 4 years. But I could be wrong on that.
That's what the proposal is.
I know, but the warrant article doesn't
the
take.
warrant article would be this, because we create the warrant article, so.
We create the warrant article, and the warrant article, yeah, would be more like.
Law or whatever.
Exactly. I don't think we would, we don't take the exact titles of every proposal.
And I don't think on the playgrounds, we don't hold them to exactly like the detail of what they install on the playgrounds.
No.
So
So
that's-
it's kind of the same,
It's kind of the same thing, right?
conceptually, it's the same here. I understand what you're saying because of the way they wrote it. I mean, we could just ask them to revise the application to say,
Also,
know,
yeah, whatever.
have a
Be a
caveat,
little looser.
just have a little caveat at add, they'll meet with Concom in the proposal and then say, in the process, we may choose a different segment if we find that it becomes through this early work and consultation with Concom that it's more that they would rather study a different section. Just
So
I
if we
have
word
the
it
application.
for conceptual design of one of the segments of the
one in the
boardwalk.
I think that would be,
Instead of saying, but I'm just saying, they propose something very specific, and we
Mhm.
want to go back to them and say, we'd rather you not be that specific. So that there can be this early stage flexibility.
I think that's what Wendy is raising.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
And
exactly.
I would say, Tom, to your point about what's in a warrant, there may be people who want to come and look at the applications and, they may raise questions if something, is different than what the application said. So I think the clearest thing is just to ask them to do a slight, revision of the application. The cover sheet then maybe at the very end. So they could say, concept design for one segment, but they don't have to say which one.
Right.
So that raises another issue. That raises another
We've never
issue.
done this before in the past.
Right.
Changing application.
Well, it's meddling, but it's also,
Just as one segment instead of saying segment 2.
no, but so we're asking them to revise their
We're
application
revising it.
at this late stage.
Yeah.
So that raises a different issue. I'm not wildly disagreeing with that, but I'm just,
All right, well then, the other thing to do is to change it in the
I mean, things
Agreement,
change,
but I think it's better.
things
We
get
can-
modified through the process.
we can word things how we want to. I don't think we have to necessarily ask them to change. Maybe
Right.
we could make the unilateral decision to fund a segment.
exactly,
word
Okay.
it to funding a segment
exactly,
instead of segment,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what we approved.
That's what we threw.
I mean,
that's what we did,
Yeah.
I mean, if you.
according to the minutes.
According to the.
Well,
I like that, Jenny.
Thank you, Jay. You read my mind.
I mean, if you think about it, it's not dissimilar from saying you're proving Beverly Park playground.
Right.
Not all the details of the playground.
Well, they
Or
just
temporary.
eliminated,
Not a swing set and a, yeah, exactly.
didn't they tell us they eliminated a slide or something because it was too expensive? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, well, I think,
All right.
I think we're,
My apologies
No.
for being more than 30 seconds, but I do think it's, I think.
it
it's
was a
really
little more
important.
than 30
It
seconds.
was a lot more, but you know, I feel like the applicant is creating a framework for this feasibility study for a segment, and that this, we will be seeing this framework repeating itself, and I want to make sure that we do it right the first time.
Okay. All right.
So before we talk about the next one, Tom,
Yes.
can we also, I've been looking now for the presentations from the applicants coming in, and they're not in our folder. So can we request that they be submitted to us and be, so that we can have them put in the folder? Because there's
Yeah.
more information on the application.
Okay.
I'm thinking the, particularly
the one I did.
yours, but I'm also looking at Tucker, and, you know, and I didn't see the presentations, and I think some of the presentations have more information than
Yeah.
what's in the application,
Okay.
so I think it'll be helpful to have it.
Oh, so when they do a slide presentation with us, that be put in.
Yeah,
Into
You're into the folder, yep.
Sure, the more information, the better.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm still in touch with the brickwork thing with this.
Should we have a reconsideration for a second vote? A revote?
well, we had,
I think if somebody might be asking them to do a different segment, they should run it by the applicant before they used to impose it on them. But, yeah, just.
We're not imposing any, we're giving them flexibility.
I think the idea is we just support the Brookwalk.
I
Here.
thought in other applications, we've made things like we encourage this or that. So here, why can't?
We're also in the same.
Encourage meeting with the Concom early in the process.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
we encourage, you know, if there's some strong sentiment that this is not a good section to focus on, then I don't know what we do with that, but you don't want them to like,
Right,
Have-
we're
I
also
agree
not
about not
saying
having
not
to
to
wait
do
a year and a half.
segment two. We're giving them flexibility.
Yeah, no, saying a segment doesn't mean we're
Saying
biased against section two, it's
Right.
just giving them some flexibility to use.
To pivot.
To Wendy's
So
word,
if
pivot,
they need to.
pivot,
We can even broaden that to just to support further study of the Brookwalk.
You know, that's too.
That's too gross.
This is too broad, yeah.
This
not,
is going to a different level of detail than we did before. That's.
right, but I don't think it's necessary, I mean, I agree with Jenny, I don't think it's necessarily, I mean, we want to see specificity from the applicant, but I don't think our funding recommendations have to be that specific. I, you know, they have to have guardrails, absolutely, there has to be the project we're talking about. But we've got to be, I'm sorry, I get on my high horse about this, but we've got to be flexible.
Mhm.
We've gotta acknowledge, in my opinion, the time delay between us, when this application came into us initially in April,
Oh.
the eligibility application, the idea.
We've always had the eligibility stage, gave them
Right,
suggestions and things
So they
like
were
that.
developing this idea for segment two in April,
Right.
Right,
and they're not gonna get
Funded till July.
until July, 15 months later.
right.
And things change.
Right.
Concom conversations, funding, you know, like if we
Right.
don't give people flexibility, we're gonna be constantly having people not use the money or get frustrated with, we gotta go back to the same committee with essentially the same proposal, just for a different segment now. I just think it's not good government, in my opinion, to be that narrow. Now, all be that said, we gotta have guardrails. And we've gotta have guardrails because we're protecting taxpayer funding so I'm all for that. But I think guardrails that allow at least reasonable flexibility, given the vagaries of all these projects. They all have, things that can delay them, things that could put them off track or whatever. So I don't know, I feel strongly about that, but. All right, so Jenny, can you read what our recommendation is?
Read from the minutes, Dottie.
That a grant agreement would support a segment, not a specific segment.
I don't think we have to say not a specific segment.
Yeah.
Just say
A segment, was, and that perhaps suggested meeting with Concom early on.
And,
Hey,
okay. Do we want to reconsider that vote? Just to, or are people fine, comfortable with that?
comfortable.
Okay. Okay. All right, let's move along to the Tucker Playground. So we've approved Brookwalk, we've approved Geofield, and we're at Tucker Playground. 102,000 funding request. This might not have been, they did send me some additional support letters, I think. I don't know if I can use my computer to search for something here.
I'd make a motion to support this project for the 102,000.
Second.
Yeah, I just wanted to read this, dear CPC members, I'm sorry, I did not, this just came in the other day. Thank you for the opportunity to present. We wanted to share a quick update. We recently met with the superintendent, who will be coordinating with Milton Public Schools and the Facilities Department to determine what type of in-kind donations the school can provide in support of the project. Attached, please find a letter of support from Mr. Phelan, Superintendent Phelan, for your additional information. The letter says, as the superintendent of Milton Public Schools, I wholeheartedly support the Tucker Elementary School playground renovation project. I believe this will be a tremendous asset for students and families of Tucker, but the entire Milton community. This will be a multi-year renovation project. And basically pledges his commitment to work with the Tucker PTO as they engage with these groups to highlight the playground renovation project. So anyways, it's a letter of support. So there's a motion on the floor and a second from Cheryl. I'm sorry, I missed all that. I was reading. Any discussion?
Only that they have a long way to go.
Yeah, but
I was at Steel and Rye this week, and they were meeting with Senator Driscoll.
No, good.
So they were
they seem very ambitious and
They're well organized.
they're very well organized.
Yep.
Just a comment, I went over to the county, that project is very completed, so I went over, but
Nice.
it's fantastic.
Oh, yeah, the kids love it.
They did a really.
Oh, that's neat. That's neat.
So to be able to now invest in Tucker, I think it's
Yeah,
best thing we can do.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, any other discussion? I had the occasion of walking out of a town meeting behind the three proponents who were here, and they were walking in the same order they presented to us. I made a comment. I said, do you always walk along the sidewalk in the same order? It was pretty good. So all in favor of this motion? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Very good. The next one is, yes, the next one is Work Park, and I propose that we table this one. My proposal would be that we invite Scott and maybe some of his consultants, the landscape architects that are working on the project, to come in at a date to be determined so we can have a full discussion continue the conversation that we had last time with him. I know Pete has, being a landscape architect himself, has some thoughts about how to potentially reduce the cost of the project and, some other options. I think it would behoove everybody to kind of get in the same room and have that conversation. And I know they have also done additional work. I believe the select board issued an unanimous vote in support of the wharf project, which I think there was something from my perspective that was important, because this select board with 2 new members hadn't yet really weighed in on this project. It was the previous select boards that had been supportive of this project. So now we have another, right. But at least the 2 previous new members I have now weighed in. I believe it has the support of the planning board as well, this project.
They have not brought this design to us.
Okay.
So, we had one site walk with them, that's all.
Okay.
So Scott could reach out to Meredith about that.
Yeah. So I think both because this is a bonding issue and because I think there's more conversation to have on this, I think it deserves a separate.
I would like to talk about bonding in overall, not necessarily purely in the context of this project. So I would like to have that be the committee, not necessarily.
Before we meet with them?
Before or after, but independent of the
Proponents.
and before we make a final decision.
So at a separate meeting, you're talking about? Because
A separate part of a meeting,
Okay.
but I would like us to think about this being, are there any other projects which might be seeking bonding in the next year or 2?
Yeah.
And I understand that the, Atherton Fire Station could be one, but there's also some have suggested that they tear down Atherton and build a whole new station. And, if there's some opportunity for funding for preserving that building, we don't have a historic commission person in this seat. So I'm trying to speak a little to that, because I don't believe they should tear that down. I've said it to the chair of the fire station building committee at town meeting. And I said to him, there are CPC opportunities, and there's also, I think there's a Mass Historic Commission has a fund for municipal projects that's similar to historic tax credits. I'm just forgetting the name of it.
Yeah.
I just made a note to myself to look it up, to send it to them, because they're meeting, I think, maybe next week, and continuing to discuss it. So
the fire station building.
yes.
And so part of their selling the first bonding thing to the town was presenting that we're gonna preserve that building.
That was one of the major selling features for the CPA.
That's right.
Was the fire station, right? So I do think before we make decisions, we should have the discussion, and in fact, maybe you and Tom could speak to Brian Walsh, the chair of the fire station building committee.
So obviously that bonding conversation could be with Joanne McCarthy, but also with Brian
or Nick too,
Yeah.
just to
Yeah.
kind of get an
Yeah.
understanding of anything if there's anything else, because it's a big decision, it's a 20-year decision. And I just feel like we need to be
Yeah.
pretty
I
thoughtful.
think it would be 15, but.
So 15 years, so.
Your point is well taken.
I'm curious too, like, when you go out and bond for this, isn't it also like coupled with, it could potentially be coupled with other projects, right?
Yeah, I
Or
think
whatever.
that's what Joanna has said.
You basically go and put it all up and then you go.
Yes.
It's not gonna just be this wharf park, it'll be coupled with other things.
Because I do think when we get to a point of town meeting with the bonding, there are going to be questions.
It's gonna be tough.
And we're going to have really, thought it all.
The fact that, my own feeling on this is like, it's $750,000, like it's easy to look at 10,000 or whatever, but when you're going to bond, then we're really, we really got our ducks in a row, like you're gonna be going before town meeting, and it's gonna be you the one trying to go sell it, right? At the end of the day, you're gonna. say
No, it's a serious.
It's a serious.
It's a serious endeavor. Would be our first bonding project. You know, all that being said, as we heard from stewards, you know, I forgot the number, 80% plus of, you know, the vast majority of towns with CPA have bonded. So it's not rocket science. It's not something that is beyond our sort of capacity to do, but it does need 2/3 vote, and it is.
And it's a separate vote.
And a separate vote, and it would be our first.
Can I just suggest that we started by saying we're gonna hold it till later, and then we spent 20 minutes talking about it? Should we move on and try to get through our list of projects?
We absolutely should.
We know that we're gonna be doing the bonding.
Thank you. No, I think it was a good suggestion by Cheryl to add to that, potential meeting that we need to organize.
Yeah.
All right, the Ponset River Estuary Project. This is from the Concom. 150, it says 153,780, but I had actually changed that because there was 2,000.
375.
375, thank you. 2,375 that was ineligible for CPA money. It's, I called it out when Arthur was here. He had a maintenance, maintenance of the trail, which we cannot. So it would be 151,405, if my math is correct. Is that right, Rob?
His original budget on here is 153, 155.
For some
Yeah.
reason.
So the, different than the.
It was like
Well,
$2,300.
Yeah, they have two different places. At the top, it says 153,780, and at the bottom, it says 153,155.
No.
So which one do
So
we use?
we use the 780 one.
The 781 top.
So
Even though it
we're
doesn't-
looking at 151,405.
It doesn't add up to
It
that?
doesn't itemize, he itemizes it down below. The 153, 155.
So 153, 155.
Minus whatever that maintenance.
2375.
And then. So it'll be 150. Can somebody do that math?
Yeah.
8.
3, which goes 155 minus 2375. 150,780.
150,870.
780.
780. Okay,
50780.
Mhm.
780, yeah.
Right.
All right, so, any initial discussion or a motion or, a motion on this project?
I'd like to make a motion just for this project
Right,
Second.
is that at 150,780
at 150,780.
and Rob seconds, or Robbie second? Robbie, is it, what should we,
Robbie's fine. yeah.
Robbie fine? Roberts?
Whatever.
Okay, because we have a Rob here, so. But that doesn't mean you can't be, so, Robbie, seconds, any discussion? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous. Milton Landing Boat Ramp Feasibility. Conversation.
I would move that we approve this.
Yeah,
A second?
I guess they're looking for 28.
700.
Mhm.
Pete has motioned, Wendy has seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Beverly Park,
We did consent.
75,000 for the last phase of Beverly Park.
I'll make a motion to support
Please.
75.
Please get this thing started.
I second.
So a motion from Cheryl, a second from Wendy.
Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Do it.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Pete, your little admonition that we should move on has really lit a fire under the committee.
I kind of thought this was gonna happen in the beginning, of having be through this by 7:30.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Town Center Basketball / Bocce Court. This is a neat proposal
I'll
from.
make a motion to support this Town Center Basketball Bocce Court
I'll
project.
second.
All right,
For
Cheryl,
125,000.
so
Right.
125. Cheryl and Jenny seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, unanimous again. The Andrews Field project has been pulled. Pine Grove Restoration, Winter Valley, $40,000 ask. He's recusing himself in this one. Any conversation, any motions on this?
I'll make a motion to approve the Pine Grove Restoration and Winter Valley project.
Rob has made a motion at 40,000. Yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'll second.
Jenny second. Any further discussion?
I just want to say, I appreciate the historical document, Pete, so. thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
See, you looked at it, good. There's a lot of work.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah. Anyway, so.
It's a neat,
I thought.
it's a neat
Yeah.
project. It's definitely, and another sort of hidden gem, right? in-
Yes.
Yeah,
Brought by individual citizen.
yep, yep, Marita,
Bravo.
God love her. All right, so, we have the motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
One extension.
And one, yeah, any opposed? No, any abstentions? Pete? Thank you. All right, Spalding Garden Masonry, $15,000 proposal.
My only comment is that because it was vague, the budget was 10 to 15 when she originally applied, that we request a more specific budget from her that outlines the 15,000 in particular. So we have that on record. Otherwise, it seems
We
like we're,
specifically, really told her to put in 15.
Yeah.
I know, but it was sort of vague. It was like, okay, so let's have
So you
it.
want her to submit a document that.
Yeah, submit a
was
document.
15,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
can you do that?
Yep.
So I make a
Yep.
motion, we approve this project for $15,000
I second.
and request that further documentation of the $50,000 expense.
Yeah. Pete has made a motion, Wendy has seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Oh, I do have a question. If this is.
Would you like to go back for 30 seconds?
No, sorry. We're definitely.
Sorry.
No.
I'm just having a flashback.
My one question to you is because we're only at 55,000, is there a threshold that we're supposed to like put towards historic, and how much is that?
It should be a 10%, so
Is that-
approximately 110,000.
Reserve it for the next round.
We do need to reserve that for the next one.
Yes, so that we have to reserve whatever, 50,000 or something.
Yeah,
It should be about 55,000 actually.
So do we have to build that into this budget? Yeah.
So we have to build it into
Line
the
item.
no,
budget,
we just reserve it, we just don't spend it.
but
Well,
it's gonna come off.
Well, it's gotta come off
It's gotta come
the
off.
amount we have available. That's what-
And next year, they will get that amount. Actually, well, this is 40 from 110, so that's like 70,000 that we're gonna have to reserve. Cause if there's 110,
No, it's 15, 40 and 15, so 55 is the total
Oh, yeah,
historic
that's
preservation.
right,
Yeah,
55.
yeah.
yeah, so it's 55,000. So next year, just say it's 105 again, historic will have 160
Mm-hmm.
because of, reserving this in the historic,
Yeah.
carry over in the historic account.
Okay.
Well, there been any reserve funds in the past?
That's right.
There you go.
You got a window.
We have re-
I hope you get.
Matter of fact, it's
Oh, my goodness.
Sorry, just.
Well,
I mean,
I'm nervous.
I'm nervous.
I'm nervous whether the taxpayers will support it, I'm starting to say.
Yeah.
When you have the death of a firefighter by occupational cancer, you think that it's such.
Okay, so I just updated the numbers here, putting in that extra 55,000, so the total requests. I know it's not precise, but went up to 1,891,823. So we are minus the 750,000, and so we're at 1,141, according to mine.
Right.
And what's the, so we're slightly above the 1,119 budget, so
And just have the 55,000 from the.
I added that.
Oh, you did that?
I just, so what I
Oh,
did
I
is
see. You
put a second 55 and then added it to this total.
Yeah.
I think I did the math right.
Why don't you label
Why don't you
that
just-
second 55, label it historic reserve or something?
Mhm.
If you just,
Oh,
shrink that admin fund down a little bit,
Yeah, and we can,
Right.
we don't have to put 55.
right?
Right,
And then you bookmark that.
do we have any admin from previous years?
Well, that's what,
It doesn't carry.
Can't do.
but that's what he's reserved 50,000 or something, right? 50,000 total.
Yes, because that's what we budgeted to pass.
What do you mean it doesn't carry?
Every year.
Any unspent in the,
Goes back.
goes back in the general unreserved. And you
Yes.
Start with your new, if it's $50,000, it starts new. But any unspent in that administrative catalog, and it goes into the, you know,
The general
The general-
CPA fund,
Right.
yeah.
But
So you're saying the 1.19 is reflective of any?
no, it doesn't have the 50. He said he took out the 50K.
yeah, and, I don't know. I should
Okay,
check with
okay.
whether they've taken what's left over from the 50.
Fair.
in there, which could give us a little more.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we, trying to get both of those numbers on the same screen, and I can't, but let me do this.
He'll do some creative accounting.
We appreciate that.
The next, last one.
So the last one is the Affordable Housing Trust, request of 400,000. So that's why I wanted to get those numbers right, because it's, so what on this spreadsheet, if I'm being accurate, it's 1.14 with a total available funds of 1.11. So we are $22,000 above. This number is approximately $22,000 above this number. So
22,530.
22,538.
I have a question. So with the affordable housing that came with the 350 and then now it's 400,000. How much of a percent is that of the overall budget? 400,000 seems like it's
It's almost 30.
40%.
30.
It's below 40. Let me just do that math.
You're talking about of the 119,293?
Well,
You're talking about of the 119,293?
yeah. If we were to divide it up by thirds, what is the 119,293 divided by a third?
373,097.
So. I don't know, I'm of the opinion in favor of splitting it into threes because we often done that in the past.
35, say 35.7.
373,097. So if we gave them,
If we said
if it's 375.
375, that would help
That
to
would help.
25 or whatever.
Yeah,
I was doing a different math equation. So the $400,000 request, which I thought was your original question, is 35.7% of our total.
said that.
Yeah, so just, yeah.
Yeah.
So
What
we're
I-
suggesting 375.
If we subtracted what we're over from the affordable housing since they went up,
Yes.
just give them the remainder of what we've got available.
Yeah.
So 375 would be rounding down a little bit from that, it would give us that little buffer. So do I hear a motion?
Well, I will say.
Yeah.
I mean, we got Kathleen's, email.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
That suggested that we do 10% or whatever.
Right.
And so I don't know how strongly she feels about that, but I think in the past, my own feeling is, you know, it's a third of the bucket and that's what we've done in the past and. You know, I feel strongly about continuing on with the 375.
Yeah,
Is the Affordable Housing Trust actually spending the money?
They have committed $470,000 to the Winter Valley, the 36 unit addition to Winter Valley. So that money right now is not technically spent, but it's committed. Technically spent because because of the government shutdown, HUD is not currently moving forward with the project, but we're told that as soon as the government reopens, HUD
So when like.
this will be, so anyways, but 470,000 has been committed from the trust to the Winter Valley project. The other project that they've been, essentially, accumulating money for is the potential to fund at Town Farm. The developer 2 years ago had applied for, or had not applied, but had proposed needing $500,000 in funding for that project. Presumably that number, because it's 2 years later, will be north of $500,000. So the Affordable Housing Trust is anticipating at some point a request from whoever is designated as the developer. Currently, the Governor Stoughton trustees and developer are in negotiations for what that project might eventually look like. So those are the two most concrete sort of actions that they've taken. They also received a application this year or a proposal from a 40B developer who proposed, can't remember exactly the exact amount. It was in the $500,000 to $600,000. Can you remember what?
500, yeah.
500, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
$500,000 to write down the rents in one of the 40B developments. So the Affordable Housing Trust is met with that developer, hasn't taken official action on that, but those are some of the things before the trust.
I also support the 1/3. Housing costs continue to skyrocket. The housing is becoming unaffordable for so many. And that's a drop in the bucket compared to the need. So
375 would be 33.5.
Yeah.
So it's pretty close to, that's about as close.
yeah.
As you
So.
If we do that, that gives us,
To do the 375 for the affordable housing.
and just FYI, that leaves us with a plus of $2,470.
Perfect.
Always nice to have some left over.
No,
I'll second that.
Plus the 55. All right, so a motion by Rob for 375 for the Affordable Housing Trust, a second by Cheryl. Any further discussion? Yes, Wendy?
I do think it may be worth mentioning, maybe not in an official capacity, but maybe like a discussion sort of, that that at least my vote in favor of this is because we have the money.
Mhm.
We're not in the situation that we were last year. And my concern is that I wouldn't want to give the impression of a precedent being set. That we are at a minimum obligated to 10%. We collectively are feeling that a third of the pot is more reasonable this year, but not to say that that's how we will always feel.
Yeah, I think the trust understands they have to compete there's no guarantee of us doing, the only thing I would say is a friendly sort of, back and forth on that is we do have a now 4-year history of funding something approximating a third.
Yeah,
It's been 28%, it's been 32%, it's been
Yeah.
all over we haven't stuck to a strip.
Right.
But, so when you do something 4 years in a row, it weakens that argument.
true, yeah,
But we still
so-
have the right.
Yes.
But I think the trust, I'm a member of the trust, and I know
Yeah.
Julie feels this way, and we always feel like, yeah, nothing is guaranteed.
right,
There's no, and we understand that all of these projects compete with each other, for the limited pie that we have. So I think,
Yeah.
but we
but I
can,
also think-
communicate that too,
Yeah.
continue to communicate that.
I think it's good practice for this committee, knowing the last 4 years. And it's good that this year almost worked out really well, because the historic preservation projects were down.
Yeah.
But I think it's just good practice overall to try to keep around a third, because
yeah,
you're not like discouraging one other, like other projects.
Yeah, I'm gonna say on on the affordable housing, like in the 2 projects that Tom mentioned, we get 100% affordable unit at less than 80% AMI instead of 40B projects, which are unlike
A sham.
Yeah,
you get 75%.
You know what that 80% is?
25% at 80% AMI, and they're grossly overscaled for the neighborhoods that people are starting to see them come out of the ground now, and they're not happy anywhere. And so the only way people will say, well, what do you do about why do we have all these 40Bs? Well, we have to build affordable housing. And so the leverage that you get by having that subsidy come in makes a difference on projects. It's making a big difference for Winter Valley's funding. It'll make a big difference for Town Farm. Without that funding, the projects just don't work. And so that's my plug, is that it's really, we can be in better control of how we provide the affordable housing if we do this funding instead of being at the beck and call of the 40B developers.
Yeah, but I think it's a good message for us to put out to all applicants, including the Affordable Housing Trust, but other applicants that nothing is guaranteed. We have our statutorily mandated 10% for each category, each of the 3 categories, but beyond that, it's dependent on the strength of the application, the quality of the applications, and the available funds, and the priorities of this committee and the town as a whole, I think, and that's a good message for us to be.
Has anyone been given to anybody else besides the Affordable Housing Trust out of that?
In the housing category, so we made a decision, always up for review, but we made a decision early on as a committee that since we have an Affordable Housing Trust, and for the most part, municipal affordable housing trusts around the Commonwealth were set up in reaction to CPA. It wasn't the only funding source, but most towns that have a trust also have CPA. So we decided that they were the housing experts, and housing can be very complex, as you probably know, to fund and all the funding sources. So we decided to defer. So when Winter Valley came to us directly, and when the Tamposi 40B project came to us, we encouraged them, didn't force them, but encouraged them to go directly to the Affordable Housing Trust. And so we have not funded any other. So the short answer is no. But we could.
Feel like
Housing,
giving away
Milton housing, the Milton.
Of what projects?
We are giving up some control of those projects. Yeah, absolutely. But the trusts were set up so that they could be nimble. Some of the discussion we had earlier about the other project, trusts are not burdened by one funding round a year, and some of the nimbleness that they can show. For instance, Winter Valley is a good example. The trust made a commitment, I don't know exactly how long ago, a year ago roughly, I think, of $400,000. Something changed in the project related to some of the HUD delays and whatever, and they suddenly were $70,000 short. They came to us a couple months ago and asked us if we would consider raising our appropriation from 400 to 470. That's something that would have been in.
We couldn't do that.
We couldn't have reacted in outside of a funding round and stuff like that. So I think that's one of the strengths of funding the trust, but it does give up an element of control.
And that's not to say if another project came to us, you know, Habitat for Humanities came in and wanted something to support that we didn't think we needed the expertise of the Affordable Housing Trust, we could fund them if we wanted.
Or the Housing Authority, for
Or the
instance, was
Housing Authority.
doing something. Yeah. That was.
Tom, could you,
Yeah.
under the affordable housing, change your bottom line to 375?
Oh, it didn't
So
change
that,
automatically.
so that it, adds up at the bottom.
On the shared folder that I'm also doing it, that you'll see it.
That's good. And then can you
This is your-
save that and send it to us so we all have that?
Jenny has it, she's
I
got
have
the
it here.
shared folder.
So you're updating it to, yeah, this is a static
Here's
even
the-
that as a download, yeah.
I've also included the committee recommendation numbers. The total, by the way, that resulted in the 2004 included the 9,500 for the bicycle wayfaring, so we don't.
Right.
That could
So
be
if we-
We're committed to that.
If we do or don't, yeah,
Right.
okay, so we're
Right.
either 2,000 or
budget.
11,000.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay,
I just want to make a point, as Wendy did on the affordable housing. We haven't had a signature historic preservation project yet, and we've had small things, and I do think that's something we should think about and try and encourage applications in.
The barn was a big one, wasn't it?
And that's not done, they haven't spent all the money yet.
Right.
That's a big, that was a big one.
yeah, Forbes House Farm, yeah.
That was a good amount.
And Eustace.
We deferred the horse thing at the.
Oh, that's true, like,
And they didn't apply.
But that was small.
that was small.
Those, yeah.
So it's just something in terms of, as we think about like how we said Beverly Park needs to get funded, when we look at these things that are in study phases.
Yep.
As they start to become real projects, we're not gonna have enough money, right? And so that's where
That's part of the whole bonding discussion.
That's where the whole bonding discussion comes in, and how many projects we can bond, but,
You could reserve money though, year over year.
Yes.
Portion, you
Mhm.
could take piece of that third,
Mhm.
5% of the third every year, and give it away,
mhm,
start building up.
mhm.
It's so hard to save when there's so many good
Yeah.
proposals.
That's the only problem.
Yeah.
Just a note on that, on historic preservation project. I was up at the top of Big Blue the other day and looked at the new fence, the observatory, took a tour of the observatory, and the fence is fantastic and they love it.
Nice.
And they have a sign funded by
Nice.
one of our,
Oh,
CPA funding signs right outside there, so that's
That's great.
one.
That's great. Boy,
This is-
you were making a tour of different projects.
Yeah.
That was the second project you said you were.
Oh, I'm all.
You're always on it.
Right, good. And that's just these.
Let's load into the share folder.
That leaves us to item number 5.
All right, so, thank you, Jenny.
Get them on track.
All right, so, discussion updates on previously funded CPC projects is the next item on the agenda.
And I was kind of charged
Yeah.
last time with looking into that. I have one thing to note, the Rise and Shine, the Rise and Thrive, the Holmes Pond project.
Right.
They submitted invoices wanting to get paid for work that was done before the money was approved.
Yep.
And work that wasn't in the scope of what they did, so nothing has been done on that yet. I don't know. I think Nick asked for additional information, but I don't think that will be funded, that they've got other things to do,
Yeah,
so.
I don't know if, the, blanking on his name, Joe,
Kane.
is it Joe King?
oh, yeah,
Is it Joe King?
Joe King.
Yeah, I don't think he responded to Nick's email,
Not yet,
so.
that was only a week ago or so.
Yeah, well, I'll try to nudge him to see. I don't think that should be a long-term problem in terms of, I think he's got more recent stuff that he could bill us for.
Correct, yeah.
But we should,
But we have to make sure that what
yes,
he bills for is on our thing and is done within the,
Yes,
period. These are.
yeah, no, that was clear. It
That's
was-
just a mistake, so.
I think he submitted the wrong receipts.
Yes, yeah, whatever, so I just want to bring that to your attention. And then in terms of, I tried to contact everybody that we had funded previously.
What's happening with the bridge? From,
Well,
do we know?
I reached out by email to Ron Kieran about the 3 projects funded, and he never got back to me, so I don't know exactly what the status of those projects are. But,
I'm afraid I don't have much to
Yeah.
add to that.
I wanna walk around that.
Yeah.
oh, no,
land.
You can't, yeah, because
I
there's no
know,
bridge.
because there's no bridge.
and the bridge, yeah.
I know.
And the,
I'm just worried that-
that we have there. The lockup bids were due either last week or this week on those. They put out just the windows of that one, took the masonry.
It really has a lot of
It
pieces.
needs the
It needs a lot of
masonry, so we'll see.
Now,
Who's putting out the bids?
Well, Tom McCarthy is heading it up.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
They were working with the historic architects, and then that
gets smashed.
didn't get finished, and the guy didn't work anymore.
When you do masonry
But,
first,
Tom
or you're.
assures me that, that he made it clear
I
that
don't
he
know,
said that,
they should decide.
Wait a minute. Go ahead, Pete.
he assured me that all these things were gonna be done consistent with the secretary's standards. I don't know who is able to review that. I think he's using the specs that the historic architect put together. But really, somebody should review the windows and things like that. I don't know who has the expertise in town to do that. But anyway, they're trying to get bids for that anyway, because that's 3 years ago, and it
Mhm.
really, it's gotta move on. The cemetery
Is it just
restoration,
the windows or was it repointing too?
there was a masonry and a window
Yeah,
component. They, for some reason, thought it was gonna be difficult to contract for those two in one contract. Because they're separate trades, so they decided to put the windows out as a separate
Okay,
contract. And then depending on the money, they would get as much masonry done as they could.
Okay.
So that one, it was one of our early ones. We thought it was on a track just to happen, and it turned out to be more complicated than people, suggested, so we've learned some lessons from that way. The cemetery headstone restoration. The people who are actually gonna do the work is an elderly husband and wife team, that's what they do. She got sick. So, they stopped for a while, and then when she got better, they decided that they weren't gonna do any more work. So they now, the cemetery has identified another firm that specializes in this kind of work. Lisa is very happy with the quality of their work, so they're really in just a contracting phase now for work to start in the spring and then. And I was recently out at the store.
Of course you were.
The Forbes house, carriage house and barn, they still have $100,000 that they haven't spent. I don't know the status of that work. They've, made great progress out there, and the work they've done is terrific. But there's still some unspent funds there.
Have you tried to reach out to them or what?
I haven't,
Mhm.
I've got in touch with everybody. Julia was the main contact over there. And Heidi, I'm a little leery to put too much pressure on her, given her, stated physical health.
Mhm.
So I didn't reach out to her. But I know they've been very responsible and things like that, and so.
so are you thinking that might be an invoicing issue, that the work has actually been done?
They've done a lot of work, but they've also submitted a lot of invoices.
Oh, okay.
So I think they're up on the
Okay.
invoices, they just haven't completed.
Maybe they haven't, that they're.
Yeah.
The whole scope that they had intended to. The Milton Arts Center window replacement, I've got to look into that too. There's the money for the windows and they haven't spent it yet. I think they may have spent some of it. Not sure. The cemetery holding tomb structural study, they have a contract and, the contracting procedures in process, but the actual work out there hasn't happened yet.
How long is the agreement for?
So typically we say 3 years, but if people are making progress and stuff,
Yeah.
you know, we have them. What it's meant to do is just if somebody is just not doing it or not doing anything, we can, you know.
If the project is
Get the
dead,
money
is
back,
dead,
the
for
project's
instance,
dead,
yeah.
we get it
There's
back.
no statutory limitation,
Right.
you know, but we said 3 years.
And the Holmes Pond Pavilion, well, we just talked about that one.
Right.
They haven't gotten any invoices approved yet, so the money is still sitting there. In the recreation category, the Mary C. Lane baseball things is complete and there's just over $1,000 left. We can either ask them to tell us it's complete, and take that money back. Kevin was hoping that he could, you know, keep that to do adjacent work to, you know, to what they've got done out there, or use that to help with what they're doing, you know, the other improvements there, I don't know. So it bends the scope a little bit, but it's still for Mary's Lane baseball improvements.
It'd have to be a capital,
Flexibility
it'd have
that
to,
we're seeking.
it'd have to be, I'm for it, but it has to be a capital improvement.
Yeah.
It can't be mowing, it can't be like the maintenance that
Right.
Arthur, you know.
And we had, you know,
Yeah.
so if we, you know, if we want to tell them we want to take it back, we can do that. The pickleball court study is complete. It was a horrible study. But there's $800 left in that account. So Kevin says, you know, take it back. And I don't know if there's a procedure. Maybe I just contact accounting and say that that project's done and this money, you know, should be paid.
Yeah, I would think,
There won't be any more invoice. I don't know if we need a memo from him saying it's done and I won't be using it or whatever, so I'll follow up.
did they contract for the study?
Pardon?
Did they contract for the study?
Yes,
And why did you say it's terrible? What, have you seen it?
yes. They missed in their selection of what sites to study. It said that they would study 3 sites, and there's this selection of sites that they studied were not, by far, not the best opportunities in town to potentially do a pickleball thing. And I think before they even got started with the study, the park department kind of made it clear, and the people who were pushing for it kind of faded into the woodwork, and the park department says the last thing we want to do is have pickleball courts.
Oh, we do have it.
We do.
We do have pickleball courts.
They're in my.
They're right
in
they're
my
right.
street.
Yeah, the proponents were hoping to find a place that they could put 8 courts
Yeah.
totally devoted, you know,
Right.
which, things like that, and they didn't really come up with a feasible site.
Did they, was Cunningham one of the 3 sites that they looked at?
It should have been,
Right.
but they did.
But it's private.
It's private, but you know,
But Gary has expressed some interest in it.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
They
That's
had
the
some,
only place in town.
but then, with the new foundation people at Cunningham, they've got a different view for that site. They were gonna, you know, talk about putting it where the old basketball courts were.
Yeah.
And now they want to make that a grand entrance to the park, and so that they, you know.
Mm,
But that would have been decided. The other one to potentially look at is the 6 acres down on Ponce River near the building that we're studying there, 7 Brush Hill Road.
No, okay.
We've got 7 acres there.
Right,
down
yes,
there,
yeah,
and conceivably that's away from any houses,
Yeah.
you know, there's space like that.
yeah.
It might be something that the building, if it comes into town ownership, you know, could kind of support the 2 activities. But they elected not to look at that. So whatever, it's done. And we can get the money back. We got the pedestrian bridge, which we don't know yet. The Andrews Park Water Station. They have bought the unit. They just have to find an installer. When the proposal came in, there was some kind of informal agreement that the DPW would do the installation. And the DPW is not gonna do it, so they've got $3,000 left to try to hire somebody to do the installation.
So I guess private contractors work on public land all the time, but okay.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, all right.
And Kevin knows people who do that and
Yeah,
things, but they
yeah.
just haven't got that done yet. The basketball court study is rolled into this new basketball court that we approved tonight. Two with the Conservation Commission around Pope's Pond. One was a trail extension that they were gonna build, a wood chip trail. That in theory, they were working with the DPW and getting it done, and nothing's happened there. And the other thing that they were gonna do was the access study to look at making the path around there accessible. And they haven't done anything on that yet. There's the unspent money at Beverly Playground.
So those were, you had initially said you hadn't heard back from John,
Right.
but you just,
I know nothing's been done, that money's been spent and nothing is in the works.
Well, we haven't asked for money, but we don't necessarily know that no progress has been made, or maybe you do know, but.
I haven't heard back from John that says, the DPW's agreed to do this next spring or
Yeah.
whatever like that, but no money has gone out yet and we don't see any sign of progress and.
There's certainly been no public sign of progress
Right.
on those three projects, which is a concern a little bit, I think, because
Yeah.
at least the bridge portion.
The bridge ones,
was
Yeah, that
over
everybody.
3
talking about
years,
signature projects, that was
and now the.
That was one of those.
well
Had to
anticipated.
go.
Yeah.
There's a lot of users of Pope's Pond and.
Would love to go.
I love
out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, there's some,
And it wasn't cheap, right? It was a.
no.
100,000, I think.
125,000.
There's no way you can. there's no-
Well, it was a, from the beginning, it was a project that relied on some Northeastern, some
Correct.
in-kind labor from Northeastern.
Correct.
And the design from Northeastern,
Right.
and they've
Yeah.
already been to the Concom, I believe.
Yeah, and where the breakdown has been, at least last I had heard, was that our connection with Northeastern was through the town engineer
Mhm.
and the DPW department, and because there's been some
Turnover there.
turnover there, that.
I know a really good Northeastern home. I could always reach out. And so I have, I have plenty of like co-ops and stuff and have an ear into their design department.
So he's an engineer, or you're a contact? Or-
Yeah, I mean, they're for a school of architecture, but
Mhm.
I'm sure I can make some connections.
Thank you,
To
Rob.
help you out.
Yeah, if that's what's needed.
If that's what's needed.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was a problem, but we really, that wasn't a
I mean, yeah.
project, we really want to get that going.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I think they did get it far enough to look at the exact location if they want.
Yes,
And I think they've got a design
yes,
for the abutments and things like that, so.
right.
I mean, if they have a design, then what do they? Well, was it just gonna be like, but you also like, we're gonna bring it in like, right? I mean, I don't know.
I mean-
I just think
Imagine
$100,000.
be prefabricated and.
And then it was
lifted
dropped
out of
in.
the abutments, yeah.
It was my understanding that it was in the queue at DPW.
Oh, man.
Well, okay. I wish Charlie would get back to me, or if you can tell him that, we are anxious to see that happen and they need current information.
Yeah, I guess it's probably a breakdown. Okay,
Communication.
yeah, I'm happy to try to, I mean, I want that project.
I assure you, it's not because of
Yeah.
lack of
Yeah.
interest and concern on behalf of the commission.
Yeah. Yes.
And all the other outstanding money is projects that we funded last year that the funds just became available in July, so you can't expect to have gone too far with those yet. Recreation master plan.
It's happening.
So Pete, thank you, first of all. That's a lot of work and,
Yes, thank you.
and a lot of follow-up. Do you have notes on that spreadsheet?
We just, have ones, I couldn't.
I mean, this is an example of the type of, I think, additional staff work that
Yes.
when we get.
If we are gonna spend more for staff, we gotta have a list of that.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
deep among them, and
Right.
not that they have to do this every month or whatever, but, a couple times a year.
It's not much on the website.
Yes, no, we have a long list once we get that stuff in place.
And also revising our application
Yeah.
process so that we
Yeah.
can put reporting in the requirements.
Yes.
FAQ.
So it's not our burden to be reaching out to them.
I think we should do that,
I think.
but it's gonna be, always gonna be our burden.
I think it.
I mean, because
says that-
people will forget, and
Yeah.
the type of applicants we're dealing with, I think it's always gonna be a variety of different proponents and not their main job to necessarily report to us, so we should absolutely include reporting back, but I think we're always gonna need some level of proactive reaching out.
Who did they submit their invoices to, accounting or to a staff person for
To the staff person. So
So-
they've been going into Nick's office and he's been.
So if you have a staff person again, or when we do, that would be an opportunity to say, don't forget, we need your reporting after 6 months or after whatever.
Right.
When they come in to submit their invoices.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have to be a separate outreach, I mean, it could still be a separate outreach, but that might help just to give them the verbal reminder.
Or if the invoice itself required a percent complete, statement or something, you could track something like that.
One of the things I haven't done yet, but I'm planning on doing is just reaching out to the new town planner and just setting up a conversation with her. She has, her most recent job in Braintree, my understanding is she had CPA responsibilities among her other responsibilities there. So she's very familiar with CPA and how it works. So I'd like to just engage with her early on about our staffing needs and just get her thoughts and just kind of, trade notes about that so that she knows that we're feeling. Braintree's had more years under their belt than we have, I think, so, but we're starting to feel.
I'm meeting with them Monday.
You are, you can mention this, but I'll reach out to her as well, but yeah.
I was
Sure.
gonna say what Pete just suggested about something at percent complete, you could have a standard payment request form that gets filled out and then the receipts are attached to it, and with that request form, you can ask for percent complete.
Right.
It's kind of like a standard,
I think we have a standard payment, or we have a standard invoice form.
okay,
As, CPA invoice form with our logo on it
Okay.
and all that kind of stuff, and we can make sure there's a line for, estimated percent complete or estimated completion date or something.
well, and even on that form, you could have, reminder, update, required at whatever, 50% or whatever.
Okay.
That's right there on the form.
All right, the last thing, I have on there is a number 6, but we've already agreed to defer that. That's, discussion of potential debt supported CPC projects such as Wharf Park and Atherton Street. So we need a couple, what I would prefer is to have at least 2 meeting dates so that we have a few moving parts, right? Scott and his team, Brian Walsh potentially, and Joanna McCarthy that we potentially want at the next meeting in maybe different segments, should I say, of the next meeting. So why don't we, instead of setting a date, why don't we get a couple dates that are mutually acceptable for us and then offer those dates to our invitees? Does that make sense? I just feel like if we pick a date and then none of the people can make it that day, we gotta go back to the drawing board.
You're saying.
So I'm looking, I think if we could find 2 dates in the next few weeks, probably realistically, well, I don't know, maybe we could find a date before Thanksgiving
The week of the 7th,
or after Thanksgiving. Yeah, the week of the 17th.
Next Wednesday, does that do anything?
I'm gone that week.
Yeah, I think more notice to our invitees might be
18th,
better.
19th, 20th?
What
Yeah.
about the first 2 weeks in December?
And those are fine. The 2nd, the 4th, the 9th, 10th,
not flexible. Just,
Cheryl, your planning board are Thursdays? Is there?
The second and fourth, but in November right now, we just have the 13th. And then December, right, I would think right now it's just the 11th. There's
So
been,
we were gonna do 2 Tuesdays in December, like the 2nd and 9th?
yeah,
Yeah, I don't think we'll need them both, but I wanna offer 2 dates to the people we're inviting.
Well, between,
We might,
I'm
we
not
might need
available
both,
the
yeah.
second.
What's that?
I am not available the
Okay.
second.
I'm not available the 9th. It's a Concom meeting.
What about the 4th?
so Thursday night?
That's,
It's the first
I'm not
Thursday.
available for it.
what's that?
I'm not available the
On the
4th,
fourth,
correct.
Is there any day that week? I'm not available on the 3rd.
I was gonna say the
the
3rd.
first,
First, I am available on the 1st.
I am not. But the 2nd,
No, we've already ruled that out. So let's, the week
That
of,
week is-
the week of the 8th.
the eighth,
The
the
ninth.
second,
The 8th,
9, 10.
9th, 10th, 11th,
I can't do it.
I could do any of those.
I could do the 10th,
8, 9,
9th I cannot, Concom.
8th and 11th, then it sounds like, or 8th, 8th and 10th, 8th and 10th,
10, what about 8?
8 and 10.
8 and 10.
8th I cannot.
Hey, you're just part of-
Man, when?
I know, very busy.
It's like,
Yeah.
In the evenings I am, yes.
Robbie's saying he's out of town that week too. 15th?
I don't have to be there.
15th, 16th, 17th, 18th. I don't want to get too late, too close to Christmas, but
I think I can do any of those, but
I could
you
yeah,
can or cannot?
I can.
You
I
can.
can.
Yeah,
I
me too. Okay.
15th,
Except the 15th.
16th is Hanukkah,
is it?
I
Okay.
don't know.
Oh, it is. It is.
schedule on Hanukkah.
No, 16th,
16th, 17th?
16th or 17th are fine with me.
Okay. All right, let me,
So 10 works.
10th does work? Well, not for Robert.
Oh.
So let me offer the 16th and 17th. It's a Tuesday, Wednesday. It's far enough in advance that people can hopefully arrange their schedules, and I'll give it back to the committee as to which date we pick.
The only thing I don't love about that, it's a month and a half from,
and then
and if. My question is if there's anything for these applicants to make changes with, you're giving them. We're
Yeah,
putting
that's
off
a good point.
45 days, right?
It's a good point.
We
I'm just
couldn't do
trying to-
Anything in November?
how about the week of the 17th of November?
Uh,
Monday, we run the whole week.
But could we do a remote? I could attend.
Yeah, they would all be remote.
Yeah, I could do a remote. I couldn't do Wednesday that week because I have a community meeting, but I could do the 18th. I could probably do, or,
I have a Concom meeting.
okay.
17th?
So,
Oh, I can't. do
Monday nights I
17th.
can't, but Wednesday.
what about the 20th?
When,
20th of the weekend, that's tough, it's a tough week. What did we rule out next week, it's just because it's too?
Well, Jenny I kind of dismissed that as not having enough time, but we're having difficult. So what's next week look like?
I'm here,
Well, Tuesday's Veterans Day.
yeah.
The 11th or 12th, yeah, it's okay with me.
12th I can't, 13th I can.
Oh, the 11th actually is Veterans
I
Day.
can't do,
Do you think we can do
Man,
this
every-
in one meeting?
I think potentially we
Meet
could.
with 2 potential runners and then have our whole philosophical and all this
Could you
discussion.
do
Both are, learning more about bonding and do our real discussion and debate. You think we can do all that?
in one night?
well,
Yeah, no, I don't, I'm not viewing the meeting with Scott's as the necessarily, like,
I think that one's more important.
I think it's, I agree with Rob, it's more important to do that sooner because there's potential homework
Yeah.
that, right, they might walk away from the table wanting to do. And I think we should
Give them time.
give them time to do that. And to your point, the earlier meeting, I think, is better for that. So I'm not assuming then we immediately make a decision. Yeah.
That could wait till December then, right? That discussion.
No, I actually think depending on,
No, not the work part one, the other one.
the bonding one could wait till
Could wait,
December.
yes.
Yeah. All right, so let's decide on the lesser evil here of like somebody's gonna have to miss the November meeting. We just don't want the whole committee to miss it. So what were the best dates again of November?
12th, I think was one of them, wasn't it?
November 12th was a good date for many of
A week
us.
from today.
I could do that.
Tom, remind me, for the,
This would be with Scott McKay and the Wharf Park people.
okay,
I've talked to him and he would like to bring his, was it Bill Madden?
Bill Madden.
His
team,
or, at least
okay.
another member of his team to answer and to be able to respond to maybe some of the questions.
This is not the meeting where we're going to be discussing revisions to our application process?
Absolutely not. That's
Okay.
several weeks away. Several
That's
weeks.
next spring.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll get to that in February.
Okay.
Or
Got it.
so thereabouts.
got it. If I have to miss the meeting, then
I can't make it the
You
12th.
can't make any day next week.
Well,
Who can make the 12th? So always Cheryl.
All but there.
Yeah.
It'd be good to have Cheryl.
It would be good.
I'm sorry, I don't have flexibility with that one. It's been on my calendar for a while.
So
And I'm on the board.
Sarah, you tell us what days you
you
can
have
do, and we'll work around.
the 10th or 13th?
I had hoped to go to the East Milton Fire Station visioning session on Monday, the 10th, but
Oh, for the old
for
state.
the old station. That's another one that could be an application at some point, but
What about the 17th? Could we?
no, see, this is where I'm getting into trouble. But I'm available the 18th and 19th and 20th. No, yeah. But
I can do any of those days.
I can do the 19th.
I can do 19th.
Oh,
I can't do 18th, but I can.
Oh, no, I couldn't do the 19th, that would be. Sorry, that's the one date that week.
And I could do the 20th.
I can do the
I
20th.
can do the 20th.
20th.
Works for me.
20th, oh my goodness. All
Hey.
right, November 20th, and they can't say no.
That's right. That's right.
And then
Alright.
the 16th, 17th of December for more general.
Yeah, I think we should keep that, why don't we
That's
just,
the one
why
date
don't
that
we just pick one of those?
Pick one, yes.
16th.
Let's do the 16th or 17th. I think people were either or. on that.
Either one.
Let's do 16th.
Oh, hold
It's
on, hold.
further away. from-
16th or 17th, you said?
Tuesday, the 16th.
One of those days, mine's not gonna do both, too.
Actually, I could do both of them.
Oh,
Yeah, I could do both.
All right, I'm making an executive decision that's gonna be December 16th.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so November 20th, December 16th.
So
two
the
next-
20th is for Scott et al. And the
Yeah.
16th for Bond et al.
and it will be here.
Usually Nick is able to secure this room, yeah, but I will,
And potentially the bike guy
and potentially the bike
Oh,
guy
and the bike.
on the 20th.
on the 20th.
Maybe this is not a discussion for this meeting, but having just gone through that excruciating exercise, I'm wondering if it might make sense for us to have a standing monthly meeting that if we don't need it, we cancel.
Mhm.
But we all are able to plan around.
And one date that we.
Yeah.
So we have discussed this in the past, at least in my recollection, and we have not. So our work is so episodic.
Mhm.
And there are times, obviously, we just came through a period where we met 3 times in the last month and a half. And there are months that, as chair, I like to give the committee off. And obviously you're suggesting, but I don't know that our schedule of work lends itself to a regular monthly meeting. But that's just my opinion. It would certainly be easier.
Yeah.
But if we have a date set and then the meeting before, we can say we won't need to meet next month or
Right,
something.
but what do we do when we need to meet 3 times in a month?
Then we add to it and we do the runaround,
I mean,
but
if
at
we
least
have the
we
date,
have,
Cheryl's always busy on particular Thursdays and she's a bit, busy on Tuesdays.
It seems like Wednesdays.
So if we pick a date, the second Wednesday of the month or whatever, a date when nobody, when people were generally available.
yeah,
And so when people built their schedule, they could say, that. Looking a couple months out anyway, then, I don't know, it is easy, this idea of, I'm not busy that day, I can't do it there, this, like you say, it's kind of excruciating.
it's excruciating. And
Okay.
plus too, if we had a monthly date set, then when we're inviting people to come to our meetings, we can always use that as a fallback. Well, we meet on the second Wednesdays of the month.
Yeah.
Does that work for you? No? Okay, well then we'll do the go around and try to find something else that works for the committee, but.
I mean, the hard part is, we just went through 2 months and we had 2 days. We don't even know the applicant
because-
can make it. We don't even know the applicant can make it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
but if you, I also, chairing the master plan implementation committee, tried to hold to a particular, the third Monday of the month. And if one that didn't work, then we pick a different one. But at least people could get it in their calendar for 6 months out or something.
Right.
So when they're planning something else within that month, you've already said you can't do that. When you're doing it like now, you already have booked things that you wouldn't have booked if you had it in your calendar already, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Perhaps a compromise to this is to, when we get our administrative assistant, because we know what the dates are for applications, right? And we know what the application and for completed, then we can schedule 3 meetings, then 3 meetings, then. And in advance, so we know almost a year in advance when those meetings are gonna be, and then potentially have another 1 or 2 in between. And so you have a year when the cycle of meetings, what it'll be.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be more concentrated 2 times a year.
I serve on the board of a nonprofit and we have a yearly calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that the board meetings,
Same.
they're for the year set.
Yeah.
And
Right.
they may change, but they're set. They get into,
Right.
you have 12, 16 people, you're not going to get them if you don't get it on the calendar.
Yeah, nobody's upset about canceling meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly best practice. I mean, I run a nonprofit and we are working on our 2026 schedule and there's 46 meetings on that right
Oh
now.
my God.
So different committees and different boards and stuff like that. So I'm, if it's the pleasure of the committee, we do have to, I think I like the friendly amendments from Jenny in terms of anticipating the scheduling. We have generally scheduled those out a few months in advance, but not a year in advance. And I think our cycle is predictable now. I think
Enough.
we've held to pretty much the same dates now. This will be,
Right.
if we keep the same dates, it'll be at least 3 years in a row, if not all 4, that we've had the same very close schedule. So, let's take that up at one of our next meetings to get a 2020 schedule. The only thing it doesn't accommodate, I'll say that, but I think the benefits outweigh the disadvantages, but the only thing it doesn't accommodate is new members. So Robbie
Right.
just joined. We're gonna have another person sitting in that chair.
Right.
And
Hopefully our next.
and when we say, oh, we meet on the first Mondays, it's like, oh, geez. And they say, well, I can't do any of that. We have to go back to the drawing board. But
Right.
bring them.
Right.
If that happens, then we do. All right. Good. Motion to adjourn.
So.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you,
Seconded that.
everybody.
Everybody.
You
Pick your